All right, final topic of the day. Leaving the industry side to go to the game side.
Yeah.
Now, you're in a pretty unique position in that you're at IGN for so long.
How long were you at IGN?
10 years.
My God.
10 years I was there. 99 to 2009. Before they had televisions.
Drop in the water. Just drop in the bucket.
Right.
I mean, just talk about it. Like, how is it, and like what are the major
Do you miss
differences
it?
and stuff?
I miss the people.
Yeah.
So my last day at IGN was very hard on me, not because I was leaving the job, but because I was leaving you and Colin and Chris Roper and Hillary Goldstein and Fran Mirabella and Matt Casamassina and all those other guys that we had worked with for so long, because it felt like a true family. And that's the hardest part. I actually prefer this side of the job much more because I get to enjoy games as an observer. I don't know a whole bunch of things about games before they come out, which is took away from things like RPGs, which I love to play, and horror games and story-based games. And now I can just start from the beginning. I can choose how involved I am in the trailers and the unveiling of them. So I actually prefer it quite a bit. And I have a direct hand in how games are made, which is, as someone who likes to write and likes to create, is a really good feeling when here's evidence of something I have done and other people are enjoying it on multiple levels, be it game design or a story or just the overall direction of certain elements of the game. I mean, those are all different things that I've been involved with since I left.
Well, I mean, worth pointing out, you wrote Unit 13.
I did.
Yeah, for Vita.
I did, and that was a great experience for me because I learned a lot about how much work goes into a story-based game and how many different variables you have to account for. And there were 20,000 lines of dialogue for that game, and we used like 500. But it's okay. We learned a lot in the process, and we had all of these things to choose from, and there was a lot involved in being able to be there for the VO recording and working with the director, and it was a fantastic experience. And I got to meet lots of people involved in the Hollywood industry that were there that were also giving us pointers on how to record good VO and make good dialogue. And so I was really happy. Every little element of each game that I work on has taught me something new, which is, I think, the sign of a good industry to be a part of, where no matter what you're doing, you're always learning something.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Got a couple questions from the good old audience here. David Hanna wants to know, how much Beyond did you listen to after you left IGN?
Not as much as I wanted to.
Son of a bitch.
I didn't listen to every episode. I did listen to some. If my phone is over there, you can see it's on my subscription list. The real problem is time.
Sure.
And I would just get so involved in working that a lot of the stuff I used to do or watch or listen to regularly just went to the wayside. But I would drop in and listen to these guys semi-regularly. I'd say maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks.
It's the same thing for us now. I mean, I always talk about it for us, it was the commute. When we worked in Brisbane, at IGN before it moved downtown, and I had a huge commute, I listened to every IGN podcast. And granted, I was on the majority of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, if I wasn't on it, I would listen to it, right? So I was up on NBC and everything else, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when we moved downtown, the commute got halved, and I didn't feel like listening to a podcast over 8 trips or something, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then now we're just so busy, I don't have a chance to listen to any of our friends.
Yeah. And that's the unfortunate downside of just being busy.
Mm-hmm. Keeping on the topic of Beyond, Jose Lewis says, what did you expect from when Greg became the anchor in Beyond, and did the expectation become reality?
I knew he'd do a great job. So we had launched Podcast Beyond, and nobody else wanted to do a podcast but us. If you remember,
I remember that it was the stupidest idea when you said it. We're gonna do a podcast for every channel because we're still channel teams, and I'm like, that is so dumb. We have Game Scoop. Why are we taking away from Game Scoop? What are you doing?
It worked out though.
It did. No, it panned out quite well. No.
But nobody wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, it was Tal forcing everyone to do it, and then I had to force everyone to do it. But I thought that at the beginning that it'd be a fun way for us to communicate with our fans in a way that we couldn't before, because at that time in 2007, is that what it was?
Yeah.
2007, podcasts were they were a new thing. Mm-hmm. They weren't used that often, and
so many people thought they were a waste of time.
They did.
Yeah.
And our video output was nowhere near as what it is on any website now. It was a big production. It took days and days and days for one video to come out.
Sorensen squeeze overnight.
Exactly.
The shittiest trailers up.
And we had that giant video processing machine in the corner that cost tens of thousands of dollars that took forever, and it would always go down. But it was an opportunity for us. It was a nice way for us to reach out, and we were looking at teams like the Nintendo team, Matt and at the time it was Matt and Bozon and Craig Harris, and that was it.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think Damon had swung over yet. No.
He was still on the news.
Yeah,
and they had a really good connection with their fans because they would just, at the time, they would find other ways to communicate them outside of our forums, and our PlayStation fans were just as interested, and so it was a really good opportunity for us. And the first episode was myself, Greg, Chris Roper, and Jeff Haynes. And I knew the second that we were in the groove, which didn't take long because we worked together all the time, but it felt good. It felt like a good episode that Greg would do very well and that all of us would do a pretty good job of explaining what we need to do. Greg was obviously the standout because he is a lot more personable than any of the other folks on the show. We were more about like getting the work done, and some of us didn't want to be there. But
I always talk about it, right? Well, the reason I'm Greg Miller, or at least the Greg Miller, and I've had the success I've had, right, is that I was injected into IGN right as the old guard was starting to burn out.
Yeah.
And there was that thing where, Colin and Clements and everybody else followed by 4 months, 5 months later, you know what I mean? But I was that tip of the sword where Damon was there and he kind of needed a cohort because he wanted to do all this video and podcasty stuff, but he had lost David, he had lost Kathleen, all these people. And then I got there and I was like, this is all I've ever wanted to do. I'll do everything. And I was doing SmackDown videos at 2 a.m. on Friday nights and stuff, you know what I mean? And it was the thing of like, yeah, when you put me in front of the microphone, I was the only person in that room, right, who had literally been on the outside 2 months before listening to podcasts and knew what they meant and what I liked about podcasts. And
also you had it built in that you were just somebody who was interesting. The reason I hired Greg is because, and you were bringing it up earlier in the show that we did this morning, and that's that we had so many applications coming through. I would read them all. I would read every application we got because whoever I was going to hire to the editorial team was very important, especially when they were working directly on my team, where at the time was just the PlayStation team. And Greg's was the only application that stood out to me as being interesting. It made me laugh out loud for real when I was reading his newspaper articles that he submitted to me, and I checked out his blog that he had going in the newspaper. And that's why I didn't send you the email until much later after you sent the document, because I was reading all of them, and that was when I finally got around to yours. And I think I sent it to like 11 at night or midnight or something, whatever it was.
I responded in like 15 minutes. Man, and that's what I always talk about this story, right? Is that, on my Gmail, which is the email I started right after I left Mizzou. So I'm sure there's a whole bunch of the old Mizzou account I had. But on my Gmail at the time, this was my 13th application to IGN I always talk about, right? In the first 12, I didn't even get the courtesy of a rejection letter because everybody's just overwhelmed. And I was applying for every job at IGN, right? And then, there was years where you contacted me at 11 or 9 o'clock, or whatever, even later, whatever, 11 o'clock my time. And I responded. We did the interview the next day at lunch, and then I was hired on the road that day at 6 p.m. So it was like my life, my dreams all came true overnight. And I always talk about, like, in the interview with you and Roper, I remember, and I'm pacing in the basement of the newspaper talking to you or whatever. There was a moment where I did well, you know what I've been doing on my blog on the blog for the thing. And you said, yeah. And I heard you guys shuffle papers. And you're like, we have them in front of us. And I was like, damn, like, that's awesome. I never thought they would have read them or anything like that. And then do you remember the question?
I don't.
The question was, we have them in front of us. Tell us, is this a character you do or is this really you? And I was like, sirs, that is the most me I do at this place. Because everything else I'm like trying to be stoic and cover whatever I'm covering for the newspaper. But the column and the blogs were my chance to be me. And so to get out there and have you read them already, that blew my mind.
Well, it showed, and you can tell talent when you read it, and that's part of what just got him in the door, and why he took off, and why he did a good job of Beyond. Because once he was part of the team, energy and enthusiasm is infectious too. Other people just now want to get involved and like, I want to be as excited as you are and talk about these things. And so once that was within your hands, knowing you guys as I do, I knew it would be fine.
Well, the funny thing too, and I don't know if you recognize it because I don't know. I thank you a lot, obviously, I hope. But like one of the reasons I think for sure why Beyond was so successful, for sure, I think, which then translates to why we're so successful, is because when you started Beyond that was because you started and then you immediately transcended and went up and Roper took over. Yeah. But the one thing you did is like, this is on everybody's calendar at this time. We are doing this. You don't miss this. And all the other channels were, fuck, we'll get to it when we get to it. And there's been 3 weeks without a 3 red lights or whatever. You know what I mean? And all this other stuff. Whereas like Beyond was there consistently, And that's why Beyond grew and grew and grew until it was the #1 podcast for IGN, right?
Yeah.
Because it was, you knew it was going to be there. Granted, it was like easy in a way because once you say that and you do that, you know that. You know what I mean? And GameScoop couldn't be that because Damon was trying to get herd cats together to go do it. You know what I mean? And then the other channels all had their own thing. But like you established that, which then we carried over for Beyond. When I took over, I carried over for Beyond. And then it's something we do here, right? Where like Colin and Greg Live is this day, and like the days at least we sometimes have to be more malleable. There's only 5 of us.
So the moral of the story for everyone listening is, if you create a schedule and stick to it, you will become famous.
Exactly, you'll become super successful.
That's very true. I mean, I honestly, like, I've seen that time and time again.
Consistency,
happen.
right?
Yeah,
I mean, that was the thing of like, I always talk about it even with Beyond when Roper left, I took over, and it was me, Clements, and Colin. I always talk about it. People always talk about like, oh, you guys were so great on Beyond and this, that, and the other. I'm like, yeah, but if you remember, Roper leaves in the 110s, and it wasn't until 150 where I was like, here's the logo, this is the show, we have a vibe, and that's when it felt like everything was clicked into place. Because it was weird to go from being able to be the guy who just screams Beyond and sings a song at the end of the show to having to drive it and make sure it all worked.
So when this is also fascinating to me, when you were making this, like this is in such a different time when podcasts weren't what they are now, and like they weren't monetizable. Like it's not like they were making money. I mean, even when we were like leaving IGN, it's not like that was ever really figured out. And like, how do these audio podcasts make money? What was the goal? Like, were you were talking about like, getting with the community and like being able to talk to them, but like, why were you like, all right, we need to make this a consistency thing? Cause like, that was still kind of a new idea then. Now it's a little obvious, but back then it's like, why did you have that in your head of like, we need to not fuck this up?
Well, Tal, who's now the VP of content, he was then too. So yeah, Tal, who's the VP of games content.
He's some super VP. I don't even know what the hell he does over there anymore.
his whole initiative was he wanted to have podcasts because there was an opportunity for us to get into a space that not a lot of people were in, from a very smart way to approach it. And then each individual team had its own reasons why it wanted to or didn't want to do it. The reason I wanted to do ours in particular, the PlayStation stuff, is because it was really a good outlet for us to talk to our readers at the time, because there weren't really viewers. There were videos that were few and far between, in a way that we couldn't normally do. And it was a really nice kind of outlet. We would just sit and talk about stuff as opposed to having to write a structured article. And even though our articles were already conversational in tone, it's much different when you're trying to remember this is forever. The people are reading this. This is representing the site, and this is the official review or official preview or whatever. Whereas here we were just sitting in a room, enjoying the company that we have and the rapport that we have on a day-to-day basis, talking about stuff that we've been wanting to talk about all week long. Mm-hmm. And so it was really a combination of just being able to talk to the readers and just an outlet for each other, just to be able to, here's what's going on, what do you really think about it? Because up until that point, you don't really have time to discuss it outside of, what do you think they're going to announce? I don't know, maybe it's a new Uncharted, which at the time really wasn't even a thing. It would be maybe it's a new Resistance, or maybe it's a new Ratchet and Clank or Jack and Daxter. So it really depended. It was a great way to connect. I mean, because you figure like at the time, IGN did not have comments on articles. You know what I mean? No. There was the mailbag, so maybe you're able to talk to 5 readers or whatever a day or whatever. You know what I mean? Or then even the boards, we see it already on our kindafunny.com/forum, where you go in to do this, right, and it's like we know how hard it is to get somebody to click on a link. You know what I mean? To get somebody to go into IGN's boards at the time, sign up for them, have a conversation with you about what's happening in PlayStation. Yep. It didn't work out that way. And I remember when it was like, you published an article or a review, and you took the link and you went to the boards and you pushed it into the boards yourself. Yeah. Like, hey, this is up. Go watch. Go look at it. So like I'll never forget when we started Beyond, and like how crazy it was when like the kid wrote in. He's like, "Can I be the official fencer of Podcast Beyond?" And we were like, I guess so. And then Jeff had a whole like the official Beyond athletes, and then somebody wanted to be the Beyond runner, and this, that, and the other. And some girl sent in a photo of her butt. She wants to be official booty of Podcast Beyond. We're like, all right, whatever. It was a closed butt.
Oh, closed butts are good butts. Who wants to be the official booty of the Kind of Funny Gamescast?
Now the official,
let me know.
The magic booty of Podcast Beyond you met. She was at Kind of Funny Live. She was there.
The magic booty.
But Julia, I believe her name.
My
Julia,
God, I love this. I love everything about this. Yeah. I nominate Kevin. Just saying.
Oh, come on. I don't want to see that.
So, I mean, what else is there? I mean, do you have any? Colin, do you have any stories? Any questions about this?
Oh, this Jeremy topic is now stories.
This is now the origin of Beyond is the topic.
Oh, okay, okay.
No, I mean, I wasn't on Beyond until like the 60s, I guess. And then I wasn't regular until right before 100. So like I wasn't there, and I was doing different things in the beginning. It was really Roper and Greg that brought me in, but my history with Jeremy is just different because I've known Jeremy for 14 years almost. So, and Jeremy was like my first contact really at IGN that I really got to like talk to and got to know. I met him for the first time, my first internship in 2003, 2 offices ago. So we were on Bayshore Boulevard, right?
Yeah.
And
that's crazy.
And so I was like, I was in that old office, and Jeremy kind of, I don't know why. I never really asked. I don't know, want to know why, but kind of took me under his wing in a way and taught me how to write better and introduced me to like a different kind of world and a different way of looking at games. And one of the things I respected about Jeremy a lot was, which I think people kind of look at me in the same vein, and I don't know, I'm definitely not as knowledgeable or whatever, but Jeremy really knows games. Like Jeremy has like an encyclopedic knowledge of games, and I always really respected that because I feel like I'm the same way with certain platforms and certain genres. So it was always just impressive to talk to him about games, and we have kind of similar interests in games too. So I don't know, I just kind of had like always a brotherly love for Jeremy, and it was definitely kind of really, he was the first editor-in-chief I ever worked under. I guess Tal kind of was editor-in-chief at that time, but you were really the first guy that like really, that was kind of brief, and then you took over and you took an interest in me, and I definitely started to climb. And I remember when you left, and I remember how sad I was when you left, and because I kind of I trusted you, and you just kind of gave me opportunities. I wrote my first preview for you. I wrote my first, as an intern, I wrote my first review for you, and which I think was,
Mega Man Collection?
Yeah, Mega Man Collection, I think, was the first review.
Yep.
And I think Samurai Warriors or something was like the first preview or something like that. I don't know.
2,
or no, Siberia 2.
Siberia. With a Y.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. Jeremy just gave me a lot of my first opportunities. And so, like, being on Beyond, even though we were never on the show together much, was, before you left, was kind of like it seemed fitting. In a way, for the kind of the legacy.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that, I was 18 when I met Jeremy, and I'm 31 now. So it's been a long time.
God. Well, thank you. It's really weird to hear myself being talked about like that.
I have so many stories, and it's like as we go through all this, like he's like, you're dead, right there.
I'm like, is this like Sixth Sense?
It's cool though because I obviously started IGN like way later. Like I started in 2010, I think it was. When did you leave?
2009.
Yeah, so I started. It was 2010 or 11 that I like was fully in. So I was definitely after. But like you're one of those names that's just like, everyone talks about you as if you're still there. You know what I mean? And like I always thought
haunting the place. Don't go in. Done. I'm haunted.
But what's always been interesting to me about IGN, and anybody that is familiar with the people that work there, or both from an audience perspective or actual personal level, like IGN is this weird thing of it is a family, and it is like different little sects and groups that kind of have this like camaraderie together, and like they grow together, and it definitely comes in waves, and then there's like the old guard, there's the mid guard, there's the whatever, and it's like it was always interesting to me to come in and kind of be there for the end of the, like, as far as I'm concerned, second era, which is like the you guys kind of getting in, being the excited dudes.
Sure.
I come in when you guys are the grumpy old men.
Sure.
And
when we're the old guard burning out.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
and it was such a different thing where, I look around and like me specifically, and everyone has different, perspectives on the whole thing. But I think that I came in at the perfect time as a video producer because that was when video was really ramping up. Like it went from, not being a thing to just every like week or whatever there being a video to, okay, there's a lot of videos, but how are we doing this? To all of a sudden, I was the 12th member of the video team. And in the year from me starting, there was 30 people on the video team. So it just like exploded.
That's crazy.
And I feel like that was the shift that you see from the writing to the podcast to then the video. And we kind of had that like camaraderie and like brothership. And like Eric Hart was the dude that I look at the way you talk about him, where I'll never forget the phone calls I had with him. I'm like pacing back and forth like, oh my God, like this is happening. He's impressed with the things that he's watched the videos I've made and he likes them. This is insane. And it's really cool to see how it's a legacy thing, you know what I mean? And like there are people that are always kind of reaching out to the next generation, and that it is something that's been instilled somewhere along the line, that it just keeps happening. And it's like you did something. You know what I mean? Like you definitely did something. It's like you and a lot of the original OG motherfuckers, like you did something right and you adapted as much as you could. And then when it was time when you're like, I have no more room to adapt, you guys are going to adapt, you picked the right people, and it just kept going. So I'm impressed, I have to say.
Well, just the big advantage that you guys have also when you talk about legacy is now because of your best friends and everything else just the amount of people you speak to, the legacy that you guys are now set up to have are the people that watch the show. And so that's a really cool thing, because now it's not just about people working with you directly. It's all the indirect influences that you have and the people that listen to what you have to say and then might take that to become something else and remember that you guys were the ones that helped them out. So that's one thing that's really cool about how the legacy of just what started at IGN way back when it was just a couple of guys in a basement trying to leave Imagine Games when it was a publication, and where it's going in the future and what your viewers are going to do. That's kind of cool. And I'd be interesting to see what the kind of funny people, the audience, what is going to come of them and what they're going to do. And now cite you guys as being the ones that helped inspire and influence them. I'm just glad that I had some kind of positive impact on you guys. I remember my time there as being very little sleep.
Yep.
And writing a lot of reviews and eating a lot of chicken wings. That's about the whole thing.
I remember
It's overall good time.
that day one with you as my boss. I remember set the tempo of like, you're like, all right, cool. When you get here, like I'll check in with you. And I got there and Roper came down. He's like, Dunham's in meetings. I'll walk you around. And Roper just walked around flipping his lighter and this is that and this is that, this is that. And he's like, put your bag down. Here's a notebook and pen. You have a demo. And he shoved me in the demo room and it was people showing me a new controller. And in the middle of it, he comes in. He's like, yeah, we already covered this. You don't need to worry about it. I was like, all right. And I remember it was going to be, and I'm like, so am I going to talk to Jeremy? Because you're the only guy am I going to talk to Jeremy? And Roper's like, yeah, he'll be out of meetings eventually. He'll take you to lunch. No big deal. I'm like, all right, cool. And at like 2:30, you finally showed up. You're like, how's the first day? And I'm like, I'm hungry. Like,
that's so funny because, like, again, the legacy thing for me. My first day, I come in and I just get a call that said, I got a voicemail that just said, "Hey, report to Fran Mirabella." I'm like, all right, cool. I go in, I start asking, they're like, yeah, just wait here, whatever. And I'm like, every woman that walks by, I'm just like, is this Fran? Is this Fran? Fran comes. Eventually, Eric Hart comes up. He's like, Tim? I'm like, yeah. He's like, Fran ain't coming. I'm like, what do you mean Fran ain't coming? It's like, first off, Fran's a man. Second off, like, he is just elusive, and you'll meet him one day.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think the one cool thing that I walked away with a lot of cool things from IGN because we wouldn't be here without them and the opportunities that were given to us by a lot of people there. But the legacy of IGN PlayStation specifically is, I think, what drives through at least the three of us and certain other people. So like the legacy of Jeremy and kind of the old guard through Roper and then you and then Jeff and Clements and me, the site basically died with me in terms of it being the way it used to.
The old school PlayStation
like
team
the way
vibe.
like when we left that whole mentality is over. As far as I can tell, which is fine. I mean, that's the way the internet goes, but it's interesting that that's our through line with each other.
Sure.
And also I think, obviously I always look at the Podcast Beyond we did as like kind of the golden era of the show, just in a selfish way because it was ours. Like the way we did our show, which we now do. Yes, I Love You. It's not to say the show is any less valid now or any less popular, because it isn't. But like, I look back on those things and I'm like, there are things that bind us, the hard work that like, it's like building a foundation and then building on top of it 4x4 or whatever, to where, it still exists. It will always exist in perpetuity, but it really did live and die with only like 7 or 8 of us. And that's it. And we're the only ones that could ever understand that. Right, that particular part of the channel. And I'm so proud of, you talk about the old school IGN 64 and all that kind of stuff was really, Nintendo was really, with Casa, really was what made IGN popular. Mm-hmm. But by the time we were done, IGN PlayStation was, we surpassed IGN Nintendo and became really the at the apex of what the site was known for. And
IGN was a PlayStation site for better or worse.
And I'm super fucking proud of that because that came through a lot of honest hard work and just honesty and candor and knowledge and all those kinds of things. So I always look back at that era and being like, we like really did, by the time Roper left and it was me, Greg, and Clements, and Jeff had been gone as well and you were gone, like we really did run that ball down the defense's fucking throat in terms of like,
right, because
we really did. Like I'm so proud of like what we did. Like we really, really fucking did.
A month in, like, Dunham's like thing to me at work was like, all right, cool, now you need to get an exclusive a week. And I was like, oh shit, fuck, you know what I mean? And I remember thinking that was gonna be hard, and then I'd call somebody like, you have a new PSP game, can I get exclusive screens? They're like, yeah, how many you want? I'm like, as many as you'll get, you know what I mean? But like, it was that thing where it's like, because back in our day, it was right, like, PlayStation team versus Nintendo versus Xbox, and you did compete for traffic and who was doing better and who had the most exclusives. And that was the thing, is like, you imparted that, you know, you and Roper already had that, you imparted it into me, I imparted it into Colin, Clements was already imparted with that, you know what I mean? And it's like, so even when everybody else was like, that's not who we are anymore, like, the fuck we aren't. How many goddamn exclusives can we get this week?
Yeah, that was the thing, is that they wanted us to let go for a long time, I think, and we just wouldn't. And I think with a wink and a nod, it kind of was like for the best for everyone, because I think they realized, you know, who the hell knows really, but to me it's like, you know, I was like, no, like, by the time Greg became one, I was like, this is mine, we built this, like, no one else helped us do this, you know, and so like, I'm not letting this go, especially with IGN Vita, which we really did build by ourselves, like, no one gave, and Vita coverage stopped, like, we really did become the hub for Vita only a few months after the thing came out, because everyone was like, fuck it. And we were like, no way, we're reviewing every game. Star Drone Extreme reviewed. You know what I mean?
Yep. And I had to fucking do off-cam video, goddamn.
Oh, God forbid
shit.
you fucking work.
It was
there.
the worst. It was the goddamn worst.
Eric Hart's got you getting on calls for nothing.
Fucking sitting there with your goddamn feet up on the thing playing Persona, and I'm just like, great.
And I finished, and you're like, all right, time to move on. I'm like, no, I got Steimer's Persona. I want to show you some other cool stuff.
Like, great.
but a lot of it came from a hard work and a lot of pride, but it also came from a lot of like, well, I don't want this to die with
legacy.
me.
There was a legacy.
Like, this was given to me, and I don't want this to die with me. I don't care how the things are changing. Like, we still dominate in traffic, and like, I still take ownership over this stuff, whether or not you want me to or not. Like, I'm going to.
Yeah.
So it's
but that's the funny thing. I mean, like, so with Dunham here and this, you know, legacy in this line we have right here is that, you know, even though IGN changed how they ran teams or whatever, like, I always felt like, you know, when for wrestling, you'd pass that torch to me, right? For better or worse, because I did a talk recently at a developer about internet hate, and I looked up, and like, sure enough, the boards were still like, it was never been the same since Mikaze left. I was like, oh God, wow. You shell-shocked veterans here. But it was the same with PlayStation, where I came in as that young guy, and you totally like introduced me to everyone there, and then like I went up with those people. Like, that was always the thing. By the time I got there, and other people were like, man, how are you getting exclusives on this, that, and the other? I'm like, well, I've been with I remember when me and this PR girl were at the bottom, and now she's working on Uncharted 3. So it's like, of course they're going to want, you know, we help each other out. But even when that changed or whatever, like, that PlayStation relationship is still a relationship we have because of that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like the way we try to make the trains run on time here, and there's always going to be a fucking podcast. Probably not always going to be a Colin and Greg Live, obviously, because that's a different kind of show and a different thing. But in terms of the podcasts, are always going to be there when we say they're going to be there, right? PS I Love You XOXO is going to be there at 9 a.m. or live on Twitch, but we're going to tell you why and what's happening, right? And it's the same thing with, like, those relationships came with me, and I still have that connection with, you know, PlayStation. You know, that was the big thing when we were leaving, right? Like, well, are you guys going to have the same access? And like, you know, PlayStation gave us 2 20th anniversary PlayStation 4s, right? Because we are the PlayStation guys. We are that PlayStation voice. And that was what the other refreshing thing was, and what I like so much about working now is, like, when we left and we were worried about the other companies, Xbox and Nintendo came to us. Everybody came to us because they knew that, like, now for them, like, this weird thing had changed because IGN was so siloed in terms of what you do or who you talk to. Now everyone could talk to us about getting coverage. You know what I mean? And it's because we have this positive image in the industry because of the work ethic instilled by you, if that makes sense.
Thank you. But, you know, the thing that sends that more, I think, to people is that you care. That you actually care about covering the product. And that's the key that a lot of sites and personalities and everyone who's involved in trying to get some kind of attention doesn't realize is really the key is just caring about what you're talking about and caring about the audience that you're speaking to. That's really the secret ingredient. And the thing is that you can't just make it appear that way. It has to be legitimate because they'll see right through it otherwise. And that has always been the biggest strength, especially their version of Beyond, is that you guys have always genuinely cared about your audience and about what you're talking about. And I think that is the reason that you guys are on the #1 PlayStation podcast. And that's the reason why you guys have found success. It's not because of any legacy that I might have instilled with you, maybe a little bit in just the idea of beating into you, the idea of covering something. But it's been about you guys as a team understanding what it is that you need to do and doing what you love to do and letting other people know how much you love it and letting them love it with you. That's the real key, I think.
Definitely. That's a great place to stop. Ladies and gentlemen, that topic brought to you by Loot Crate. Loot Crate is a monthly subscription box service for epic geek and gamer items and pop culture gear. For less than $20 a month, you get 48 items that include licensed gear, apparel, collectibles, unique one-of-a-kind items, and more. Make sure to head to lootcrate.com/KFGames and enter code KFGames to save $3 on any new subscription. Loot Crate's more than just a subscription service. It's an entire community of fans that share their experience and interact with each other around the unboxing of each month's crate, and they guarantee at least $40 value in every crate, sometimes way more than that. Every month, there's a different theme, and all items are curated around that theme. This month's theme is Versus, celebrating some of the greatest rivalries in pop culture, including, but not limited to, Dark Knight versus Man of Steel, Alien versus Predator, Spock versus Mirror Universe Spock, Daredevil versus Punisher, and Harley Quinn versus ... everyone.
Because Harley has no allegiance. You see.
No,
she's crazy. She'll go anywhere and fight anyone.
Crazy. Our exclusive items include something you can display, something you can wear, and something you can use. And don't forget our tea and loot pin. Remember, you only have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate. And when the cutoff happens, that's it, Jack. It's over. So go to lootcrate.com/KFGames and enter code KFGames to save $3 on your new subscription today. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
You've been a great guest. This has been a great episode. I always love episodes that don't go how I have them planned.
Oh, sure.
Because then you know it's like, all right, this conversation went somewhere
great.
good.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Thanks
for
for
having
everything.
me.
Thank you for making these guys fucking awesome guys because they're helping me become an awesome guy.
You are an
and it's
awesome
all
guy.
great. Oh, shucks, great.
I'll take the credit, but it's all them.
Where can people find you?
They can find me at Denim Smash, but more importantly, they can find our game at Rocket League and RocketLeagueGame.com and on YouTube /Rocket League Game.
There you go. Heard it there, motherfuckers. Till next time.